All right, happy Friday, everybody. Full 15 game slate that we will talk about today. We'll jump kind of right into the recap. Kind of a poopy day. Football was great, though. Minnesota, Tampa Bay, a lot of runs early, not a lot of runs late. So we ended up hooking, we had the over 7, ended up at 7. Giants and Diamondbacks over 7. That one was kind of heartbreaking. They ended up scoring 4 runs pretty early. And Snell got put out of the game after the first inning. I assume he got hurt, and they just couldn't score runs. So final score was 3-2, which is very disappointing. Thought that was one of my more favorite plays of the day. Let's see, Texas first 5 minus a half. That was pretty sweat free. Texas scored 3 right off the bat, and that was all they scored. Final score was 3-1. So pretty boring game there. Houston first 5 minus a half. Freaking Astros, man. Ended up losing 1-0 to the Reds with the over-under of 9.5. Like, what the hell? Just could not score a run. They just kept hitting into double play after double play. But shout out to Rhett Lauder. He looked really good. Second start. So a little bit of confidence there with him moving forward. But yeah, it was disappointing. And then parlays, let's see. Atlanta. Atlanta lost to Colorado. That sold that parlay. And then, let's see. Yeah, Astros lost, and then the Padres were up 3-0 in the bottom of the ninth, and their closer loaded the bases and then gave up a grand slam. So that happened. That was cool. So we ended up going 5-4 on the day. Nats was looking really good. Came out of the gate, scored 3, and then didn't go so well after that. They ended up giving up a lot of runs, and then they didn't score the rest of the game. We already talked about the Astros. The Braves just could not score runs. That was crazy. Offense just went ice cold. We had Lauder over 3.5 Ks. He got 3 Ks really early and just could not get that 4th K. Brown went over his K prop. Mize under 3.5 Ks. He ended up at 3, but that was just crazy high for him against the Padres team. Schwarber over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Got a hit, just didn't score, so I think he went like 1 for 5. So not a fantastic day, but he's been tearing the cover off the ball. Washington, Pittsburgh, Nerfy. Obviously, we got the L there. They scored 3, but weird day yesterday. It was kind of a crappy slate. It is what it is. We'll bounce back today for sure. Hot and cold matchups. There really wasn't many, so not much to talk about there. In terms of the bullpen review, Giants are really the only team I've got concerns about. Obviously, they had to cover 8 innings yesterday, so I know their bullpen was already having some issues. Then to have to cover 8 innings after Snell got hurt just puts them in a real bad position coming into this series here. Standings review. Everything pretty much stayed the same. Nothing crazy. We saw the Orioles lose. The Yankees had the day off. So, actually, no, I'm sorry. Both teams had the day off. So, yeah, not a lot of changes. Red Sox are in absolute do-or-die mode. 5.5 games back of the wild card with 22 left, playing the White Sox at home. So, really need a sweep there. Like I said yesterday, we've got some big matchups here. Twins and Royals going at it. There's some wild card implications. There's potentially looking at the Central with the Guardians playing the Dodgers. So you never know if Twins and Royals, if one of them could potentially sweep the series and we see the Guardians get swept, things could get kind of interesting there. Let's see. Everything else pretty straightforward. But yeah, nothing really to talk about after that. All right, let's jump right into the slate here. I'm going to try to keep it to a fairly quick video. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's free, helps me a lot. Forgot to throw that plug in there. All right, Yankees, Cubs. Yankees, ice cold, man. Ice cold. Went down to Texas and just didn't look good. They did not look good at all. Cubbies have been on an absolute tear. Really just had one bad game against the Pirates, but they're at home. Massive wind blowing in. Chicago is highly affected by the wind. The way the ball flies, everything. Very small foul ground territory. It's one of those fields when the wind's like this, you really need to know how to play that field. So we've got Luis Gil going up against Jordan Wicks. Wicks is making his second start back. So his last start was pretty decent against the Nats. He went 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, did not strike out a batter. If we look at the Yankees, they've just been struggling against left-handed starters. They've gotten 4 earned runs off the last 4 left-handed starters, and we're not talking about lights out pitching here. We're talking about Andrew Haney from the Rangers, Gore from the Nats, Patrick Corbin from the Nats, and Mitchell Parker from the Nats. So they saw 3 lefties against the Nats. That series did not go well for them. So I really like the Cubs in this spot. If Wicks can give us some innings, my only concern is just the wind. We've got some crazy-ass wind situations, but Cubs are used to playing in these types of conditions. Yankees are not. So again, just another thing that kind of aids to the Yankees' favors. We look at the pitch splits for Heel. Over the season, he's got a good average, but Cubbies, #1 team hitting right-handed fastballs over the last 30 days. Third in the cutter, although Heel really doesn't throw a lot of cutters, but he does throw a decent amount of changeups. Cubbies are top 10 in that. Kind of the flip side to that, even though the Yankees are struggling, still #2 in fastballs against lefties over the last 30 days. So there's some things that work in their favor. But we've just seen Judge go kind of ice cold, right? And I feel like this team just kind of, it's like ride or die on Soto and Judge. The cast behind them really have to step up. Jazz Chisholm's been ice cold. So Cubbies have been hot, man. I just don't see a reason not to ride them at home for plus money, given the windy situation that they're used to playing than the Yankees aren't. So clear spot here. All right, Brew Crew against the Rockies. Ryan Feltner going against Frankie, the fade Montas. Can't fade him now. He's been pitching okay. 11 earned runs over his last 4 games. 3 of those have been away. 7 of those 11 were away. So he's pitching okay at home. 8 earned runs over his last 4 starts. 8 earned run in his last 2 starts against the Reds and the A's. So do I think he's going to go out there and throw a gem? No. This line at 7.5 is pretty crazy. I don't agree with that at all. We're 100% hammering this over 7.5. I think the Rockies get some runs off Montas, and I think the Brewers get a lot of runs off Colorado. They kind of used a lot of arms in that Atlanta series. The bullpen's terrible, so Brewers are a good team at home. They just need to crank up the offense. We've seen the offense go kind of ice cold over the past 3 series, really. But I think they bring it back today, especially at this price at -230. They've lost their last 2. So I like them to get the dub today. But the over would be much more value at -112. I mean, realistically, I could see the Brewers potentially getting this by themselves. So really love that. The splits for Feltner just aren't good. 370 average over the last 30 days to lefties, 300 to righties. Montas, 170 to righties, 244 to lefties. So, like I said, I think Montas probably gives up like 1 to 2. You could look at a Rockies first 5 team total over 1.5. I think it's very close to plus money, might even be plus money. But Brewers all day for me on that. I'm going back to the Nats here. Nats and Pirates. We were on the Nats yesterday. DJ Hurst going up against Luis Ortiz. Pirates are struggling against lefty pitchers. If we look at the stats, sub 200 last 14, sub 100 over the past week. They've got a negative WRC plus over the last 7 days. They've been K'ing at an insanely high 32% rate, and they're not walking. They got a 3.5% walk rate over the last 7 days, 4% over the last 14. So there's a lot of swings and misses happening there. DJ Hurst, pitch splits are really good. He's given up a sub 2 average to lefties and a 2.1 average to righties over the past 30 days. Hard hit percentage is super low. He's just been pitching really well. Luis Ortiz, that said, he's done pretty well his last 2 starts. He hasn't given up any earned runs facing Cleveland and the Reds, giving up a 180 average to lefties, 150 to righties. My concern with Ortiz, loves to give up the long ball, and the wind is blowing out. So that is my only concern with him. If we look at Hurst, 8 earned runs over his last 4 starts. But, he faced the Cubbies, who have been red hot, so they got to him. But they've gotten to every team almost. He was at Atlanta, pitched really well, pitched very well against Colorado, and pitched well against Baltimore. So I like him in this spot today to bounce back. Pitch splits for Ortiz. We look at the Nats. They're 3rd over the last 30 days, hitting the fastball against right-handed pitching. So I like him to bounce back in this spot. All right, next game, Rays and the Orioles. Dean Kramer, Shane Baz. Kramer does make me nervous at home. He does like to give up some home runs, and the wind is blowing out, so something to keep in mind. But he's pitched really well at home as of late, so I am inclined to go with him. I like the way the movement on his pitches have been really good over his last 3 starts. If we look at Shane Baz on the other side of the hill, he's been very solid. He's given up 5 earned runs in the last 3 games, and that was against the Padres, at the Athletics, and versus the Astros. 6 earned runs over his last 4 away starts, but we look at the last 20 games for the Rays away, they're 9-11. They're just not playing that great. If we look at Dean Kramer, he's got some history versus the Rays. He's pitched in 6 games. He's got a 2.79 career ERA. He pitched against them 2 times last year and gave up 1 earned run in 11 innings. And like I said, I just like the way he's trending. I've seen several of his games lately. He's just got a lot of run on his pitches. He's getting a ton of swing and misses. So I like the O's in this spot. We do have a bet that we will talk about. The only thing that scares me in that game really is Rays have a massive bullpen advantage. All right, White Sox, Red Sox. Davis Martin, Nick Pivetta. I think you can make a case for the White Sox, if I'm being honest. At plus 220, I do see a little bit of value here. Davis Martin been a bright spot, honestly, for this White Sox pitching staff. He's only given up 8 earned runs over his last 4 starts. That was against the Mets, the Tigers, the Giants, and the Yankees. So pretty tough group that he's faced there. He's only had 3 away starts, though, so we haven't really seen a ton of him away. If we look at Pivetta, he hasn't pitched at home since July 29th. He has had his last 4 starts have been on the road. And he's given up 12 earned runs against the Tigers, the Astros, the Orioles, and the Rangers. So you could maybe, I thought about looking at like a White Sox first 5. There could be some value there, but we've got the wind blowing in. Pivetta, really, you kind of want the wind blowing out with him because he's very prone to give up home runs. So the wind blowing in actually helps him quite a bit. But if we look at the pitch splits, Martin giving up a 245 average to lefties, which scares me a little bit. Right, Boston is a very left-handed heavy-hitting team with 6 projected to be in the lineup, and he's given up a sub 2 to righties. If we look at Pivetta, he's the other way around. He's giving up almost a 270 average to righties, sub 2 to lefties. Problem is the White Sox are more left-handed oriented than right, so they've only got 4 righties in the lineup. But I'm going to pick the Red Sox here because they need to win. They know where they're at. They have to win this game. I think Pivetta shows up, but man, there is definitely an angle to take the White Sox in this spot. Then it's not like the Red Sox are an amazing home team. They're 31-38 at home. That said, White Sox are 14-55 away, 1-9 in their last 10. I mean, they did just beat the brakes off the Orioles, but man, that happens few and far between. So tough one there, but like I said, there is value on taking the White Sox to some degree. All right, Phillies, Marlins. Zach Wheeler going up against Edward Cabrera. Marlins are this might have been Wheeler's worst game of the season, but that happened at Miami on May 12th. Probably a getaway day if I had to guess. He went 4 innings, 6 hits, 6 earned runs, and only struck out 2. So pretty crazy. His strikeout line today is 7.5. A little high. That'll definitely drop to 6.5. But over the course of Wheeler's career, he's faced this team a lot. 24 games against them, 2.78 career ERA. He's only given up 5 earned runs over his last 4 starts. He's given up 4 earned runs in his last 4 away starts. So he's looked great at home. He's looked really good on the road as well. So if we look at Mr. Cabrera, he's given up 13 earned runs over his last 4 starts. You got to discount that a little bit because there's a Rockies start in there. So I just kind of discount anything that's at Coors Field because it's a strange ass field. Definitely a spot to take the Phillies. Is there value taking the Marlins? No, I just don't see it. Maybe I would say if you're on the Marlins, maybe look at the over 7.5 runs. That's the only way I can see that working. But I would say Phillies or pass for me in this game. The splits for Cabrera, pretty decent. I mean, he's given up a 250 average to lefties, 228 to righties. But you see a guy that gives up a higher average to lefties against the Phillies. It typically doesn't go well. Look at Wheeler. He's given up a 173 average to righties, 221 to lefties. Kind of the MO for the Marlins. You look for guys that give up high averages to righties. Pitch splits for Cabrera just kind of look okay. Same for Wheeler, but I'm just going to take the better team, better pitcher here. All right, Mets and the Reds. Fernando Cruz going up against Sean Manaea. Just maybe two of the hottest teams in baseball right now, potentially. Potentially. Reds have won 4 in a row. Swept the Astros for the third straight series. So the third straight time they faced them, they swept them. Going up against the Metis, who have won 7 straight. They're on fire right now. 8-2 in their last 10. Reds are 5-5. Reds have stayed home. Mets traveling up. That said, Mets had a full day off, and the Reds have had to keep going. So no day off today. If we look at Manaea, he's pitched okay. Didn't give up any earned runs in his last start versus Detroit, but the previous 4 games he had given up 3, 3, 3, and 3, just 3 runs every start. So very consistent in the threes. We got the wind blowing out in GABP, and we're getting a 7.5 line. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. I'm taking the over all day in this series. The Reds have an okay pitch split, right? If we look, 6th in baseball over the last 30 days against lefty fastballs. Manaea throws a ton of fastballs. We look at batting splits. Manaea's done pretty well the last 30 days. 200 average to lefties, 170 to righties. Cruz is a reliever. He's going to go 2, maybe 3 innings. Then they're going to turn it over to the bullpen. Bullpen hasn't been lights out. They are 20th in baseball over the last 30 days with a 4.58 ERA. Mets bullpen's been a little bit better, pretty decent. But I expect runs in this game. I don't think the Mets shut down the Reds, right? We came off a 1-0 game yesterday. Should see some offense today. I like the Mets to win this pretty convincingly, though. All right, Blue Jays Braves. Max Fried going up against Kevin Gausman. Gausman's been really good away. 2.52 away ERA. Max Fried 4.05 home ERA. For Gausman, he's given up 6 earned runs over his last 3 away starts. That was against the Twins, the Angels, and the Yankees. So 2 out of 3, pretty tough teams. Let's see. Both pitchers have very good career ERAs against the opposing team, so they're both sub-2 career ERAs against each other. We look at Max Fried, 6 earned runs over his last 3 starts to the Phillies, the Twins, and the Phillies. Blue Jays been struggling a little bit against left-handed starters. They've only gotten 5 earned runs against the last 3 left-handed starters, but it's hard for me to back a Braves team to where offensively we just didn't see much, right? They won 2 out of 3 against Colorado. They weren't high-scoring games. They were struggling to get to a team that both the starting pitching and the bullpen pitching is extremely weak. So I think this is a really good spot to take the Blue Jays at plus 145. Just value just shouts. Take the Blue Jays. I still like the Blue Jays offensively. I think Fried can definitely shut them down for a little bit, but they'll get a couple. And I just don't know if the Braves will even score. So kind of hard for me to trust them in that spot. 167 average with runners in scoring position over the past week. 235 over the past 14 days. So we do see a trend there that kind of works in the Blue Jays' favor. So give me the Blue Jays in this spot. All right, Rangers, Angels. I didn't do a lot of notes on here. Samuel Aldagari is making his 2nd major league start. The Mariners, I believe it was the Mariners, absolutely shelled this dude in the first inning. They scored like 5 or 6 runs right off the bat. He's not great. He's okay. He's very middle of the road. It's going to be a Rangers bullpen day. I just don't trust the Angels offense. If we look at how they're hitting, I would imagine there's whatever lefty we see in that Rangers bullpen will pitch against them today, because they are dreadful against lefties. They have a negative WRC plus. They are literally the worst in baseball over the past 2 weeks and over the past 7 days against lefties. And over the past righties, they haven't done shit either. So hitting 179 over the past 14 days. So can't get behind this team. That just not going to happen. And especially when we're starting to see the Rangers heat up. 8-2 in their last 10. They're still at home, right? So we've seen them have some really good success at home. Rangers all day for me on the spot. All right, very, very important series here. Twins and the Royals. We've got the AL Central. Really, it's one of the funnest races right now with the Guardians, the Twins, and the Royals. Cole Reagan's going up against Zebby Matthews. Matthews got absolutely rocked against Toronto. I know, because we were on the Twins and we were backing old Zebby. He went 2 innings, 10 hits, 9 earned runs, 3 home runs. in the 3 previous starts that he had in his career, he had given up 5 earned runs. So either the book's out on him, he just had a bad outing, I don't know. But for me, this comes down to he's already faced this Royals team, and he did pretty good. He did pretty decent against this team. He faced them on August 13th, so not that long ago. Went 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 5 Ks. But I know the Royals haven't been hitting, but this just feels like a spot where they're about to pounce out. Twins against lefties. I talk about this a lot. I don't like the lineup they put out against them. They don't win a lot when there's a lefty on the other side of the mound because their lineup sucks. So if we look at Zebby Matthews, his pitch splits over the last 30 days, not great. He's getting drilled by lefties. 341 average, 468 WOBA. He's given up a 258 average to righties. We look at Reagan. Been okay at home, 3.83. Been serviceable. He's got a 2.45 career ERA versus the Twins. So we do have some. I think he's actually had 3 starts against the Twins this year. I put 2, but I want to say it's 3. But one was in March, like very, very earlier in the year. So not going to count that if that is in there. But if we look at Reagan's 18 innings pitched and 5 earned runs. In 2 games at Minnesota, it was 3. Yeah. So he did have a home start in March. So I did catch that. I just forgot to change it. Home start in March was okay. Gave up like 2 earned runs. So, this guy, he's probably going to give up like 2, maybe 3 earned runs at most. But we do have the wind blowing in today quite a bit. So I would say probably 1 to 2. So give me the Royals in this spot. Just too big of a game. I think they show up at home. Just haven't really loved the way Twins offense has been rolling the last couple of series. And you give me a lefty, just too many factors working against them, in my opinion. Okay, let's get to the next game. D-backs and the Astros. This should be a fun series to watch. Astros coming off a wonderful series against the Reds where they got their asses kicked. Brandon Pfaadt going up against Framber Valdez. Lefty on the hill. I love to take the D-backs when there's a lefty on the hill. Valdez has looked really good, though, over his last 4 starts. He's only given up 4 earned runs, and he faced the Royals, the Orioles, the White Sox, and the Rays. So 2 pretty decent teams. We look at Pfaadt. It's kind of gone the other way around. He's given up 17 earned runs over his last 4 starts. So that doesn't make me feel super confident. 9 earned runs over his last 3 away starts. But what the stat I do love, Arizona has been facing a ton of left-handed starters. They've faced 6 lefty starters over the last 10 days. They've been crushing them. 25 earned runs off those 6 left-handed starters. So I know Valdez has been pitching really well, but I like the D-backs to hit the ball here. I think they should score some runs. We look at Valdez. His splits have been really, really good, though. He's given up a .092, so he's got a sub-1 average to righties, 217 to lefties. We look at Pfaadt, 365 to righties, almost a 400 WOBA, 265 to lefties with the over 300 WOBA. So splits don't look good for me to take the D-backs here. This is more me fading the Astros offense. We just saw them really struggle against the Reds pitching, and they didn't face fantastic pitching in that series. So I know they get to come home. D-backs are traveling from San Francisco, so both teams traveling. I think you just got a hotter hitting team in the D-backs versus the Astros. I like them to put up some runs today. The over, this 8 dropped to 7.5. I love the over 7.5. So give me the over 7.5 in that game. That's definitely a best bet. All right, Mariners, Cardinals. Interesting game here. Bryce Miller, Eric Fetty. Fetty's been pretty good at home, 1.98 ERA, although most of those starts were with Chicago. Miller, almost a 5 away ERA. We look at Fetty. He did face Seattle on July 27th when he was a member of the White Sox. And 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 home run, 4 Ks. We look at Fetty over the last 4 games. He's given up 11 earned runs. That said, he's faced some tough competition. He had the Yankees, he had the Twins, and he had the Brewers, and then the Reds built in there. We look at Miller. He's been pretty hot lately. 6 earned runs over his last 5 starts, 5 earned runs his last 3 away starts. So he's pitching pretty well away, and the Dodgers were even thrown in there. So kind of 2 bad teams and the Dodgers. We look at the Mariners. They are 4-6 in their last 10 away games. So that does make me a little nervous, but we're seeing the sticks come to life. They hit really well in that series against the A's. So I'm just kind of riding that the bats come with them to St. Louis. I don't really love Fetty, That said, I guess you usually do back Fetty at home, but giving up a 261 average to lefties, 384 WOBA, a 200 average to righties. So he's pitching well against righties. We look at Bryce Miller, 122 average to righties, 189 to lefties. So in my opinion, Mariners have the pitching advantage. They've been putting up runs. We look runs over the last 3 games. It's 8, a little skewed by that monster game they had, but still, I would say, in my opinion, this is a very coin flippy game, and I'm going to take the value with the Mariners at minus 105, which I can't believe I'm actually saying. I'm backing the Mariners. All right, Scooble, Spence. Pretty lopsided matchup here. Tigers coming off that nice little grand slam win last night. You got Scooble on the mound due to 16-4. Tigers have won 7 of the last 8 games he has started. So pretty insane. He's only given up 6 earned runs over his last 4 starts. 3 of those were against the White Sox, so I guess we would call that a bad outing for him. We look at Spence, 8 earned runs over his last 3 home starts, 12 earned runs over his last 4 starts overall. Pretty lopsided here. The only thing that concerns me is Detroit just really hasn't been hitting over the past week, but with Scooble behind the mound, and the Tigers have won 7 of the last 8 he's played in, really can't fade him. We look at the pitch splits for Spence. He's given up over a 300 average to righties, 250 to lefties. Scooble sub 2 to righties, 125 to lefties. So just a massive pitching disparity there. That said, the A's at home can be sneaky sometimes. We talk about that, but you got the wind blowing out. Just need the Tigers to hit. We got to find that magic from last week, but she'll get the job done today behind Scooble. All right, next to last game here, Giants Padres, Mason Black, Michael King. I didn't put much in here. We've got Mason Black is a horrendously bad pitcher. Really bad. xERA of 7.65, has an ERA of 7.45 going up against Michael King, who has been solid all year. We already talked about the Giants bullpen's in really bad shape, so you've got a bad shaped bullpen versus a really good pitcher. A team that's coming off a loss, so I like the bounce back factor here. Should just be an absolute beatdown. Not much to say there. Padres up. All right, last game on the card, Guardians and Dodgers. I think we're going to see a lot of people on Cleveland today. I think Cleveland's going to be a hot public pick. Landon Knack should be starting today for the Dodgers. Knack hasn't started a game since 8/13. He had given up 5 earned runs in his previous 3 starts prior to that injury. But of those 5, 3 were against the Phillies at home. So kind of give you a pass. Philly at home is a tough place to pitch. Going up against Matthew Boyd, the lefty, he's got a 5.06 away ERA, although we can't read much into that. That's just one game, so very small sample size. Boyd's pitched very well. He's given up 6 earned runs in his last 4 starts, and that was against the Pirates, the Rangers, at New York, and the Cubs. Now, kind of read, Pittsburgh, Texas. I don't build a whole lot off of that. If we look at the Dodgers, they've gotten 12 earned runs off the last 4 left-handed starters that faced them. We did see them struggle a little bit against the lefties in the Tampa series at home, but that for me is just we look at the Dodgers' last 20 home games. They're 15-5. You go down to 10, they're 8-2. So trending in a phenomenal direction here. They've got all their guys. Should just be a wonderful day. Wonderful day for Dodgers baseball. That said, Guardians could get the Landon Knack, but offensively they haven't been blowing me away. We look for the averages at Knack. Really can't gain a whole lot because he's been out. So for Boyd, he's pitched really well against lefties, .063 average. Against righties, .203. So I like the under in this spot. The under 9 probably is a pretty good play. I just don't love taking over-unders with the Dodgers. The only way I like is if I'm taking overs. Taking unders against the Dodgers scares me a little bit. All right, pitch sheet. I'll let you guys, you can screenshot this, do whatever you like. There's 3 I really like today. That is Dean Kramer over 4.5 Ks. I like Mitch Spence under 5.5 Ks. Mason Black under 3.5 Ks. So those are some plays I like. Zach Wheeler, you can take the under 7.5, although this will get bumped to 6.5. It's at like -150, so kind of juiced, and who knows, he could have a day, but just a hair high for him. Yeah, these are the pitch splits or pitch sheet, whatever you want to call it, if you want to copy that. I think Montas is 6.5, a little too high. I could see him getting 6, but 6.5, a little too high for me. All right, let's get into our best bets today. We are taking the Rockies and the Brewers over 7.5. This line's just too low. I don't think Montas is going to go out there and throw a shutout, although he did throw a shutout earlier in the year against this team in Colorado. That said, when Colorado came home, and I don't think I talked about this, but in Cincinnati, Colorado got to him for, I believe, 4. So there is a history where Colorado has gotten to him. All right, and then the Mets, the Reds over 7.5. It's just a ridiculously low line at GABP with the wind blowing out. That's absurd. What's the temperature going to be today? 86. So you're giving me 86 degrees with the wind blowing out and an over/under of 7.5 in GABP. Get the fuck out of here. Take that all day. All right, Arizona and Houston over 7.5. Again, taking the over there. I think Fat gets hit, and I think that the D-backs get to Valdez. I don't think he throws I think he throws a decent game, but I think they get to him, and I haven't been impressed with the Astros bullpen either. All right, Orioles first 5. This is just saying that Kramer's going to do better than Baz, and Orioles should get some runs. So really good value at minus 130 to take a team that's pretty damn good offensively. And then give me Mets team total over 4.5. So this is more of a correlation play with the over 7.5. I can see the Mets just going to town off this Reds bullpen. So if you're giving me plus money for a hot offense, take it all day. And then D-backs team total over 3.5 at plus money. So we got some risky plays in there. I'll give you that. But I think there's just great value in all these. So I will take them and live with the results. All right, parlays for the day. Tigers, Padres, and the Orioles plus 286. The Brewers, the Phillies, and the Dodgers plus 238. Royals, Mets, Rangers plus 324. So pretty square parlays. We just want, if we can hit 2 out of 3, that's fantastic. 1 out of 3, we're still profitable. All right, fun parlay. We're just going to combine basically the first 6 teams on the sheet. So we're going to combine the Brewers, the Phillies, the Padres, the Orioles, the Tigers, and the Royals. Shit, I thought I said that twice. Okay, anyway, plus 1,265. And then the upset parlay, we're getting a little crazy. I wouldn't necessarily pair all these together. I would maybe chop it down. But we're doing Cubs, Diamondbacks, Nats, Mariners, Blue Jays at plus 5,107. So if you're one of those lotto players, this would be a nice little lotto pick. So it'd be like $1 to win 51. You could do something like that. Or if you want to do $5, you win 250. All right, props I like today. Fetty over 5.5 Ks, just facing the Mariners. They just tend to strike out, obviously, more than any other team in baseball. And Fetty pretty routinely gets, 5 Ks. So we're just really asking him to get kind of one more than normal at minus 105. So good value there. Pivetta over 6.5 Ks. When this guy is dealing, this is a very easy line for him to hit. So that's at plus money going up against a pretty dreadful White Sox team. Feltner over 4.5 hits. This line just feels really low to me, a little bit scary. Kind of ties into this over under of 7.5. Scary if Feltner goes out there and has a gem. We got to really start questioning the Brewers. But minus 130, just good value. I could see them getting 6, 7, 8 hits off of him. Zebby Matthews over 2.5 earned runs at plus money. Just saw him give up 9 in 2 innings against the Blue Jays. I know the Royals have struggled, but they're at home in a very important series. I just think they show up today. Feltner over 2.5 earned runs at minus 101. So the books are really kind of telling us they expect Feltner to have a day. I disagree. And then Eugenio Suarez, one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now, which is crazy because he sucked for quite a while. But over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs at plus 120. Like I said, he's just been tearing the cover off the ball, and we're getting good value. Plus money to take a guy that's been tearing it up. You could also look at Lindor. I left him off just because I've been taking him every damn time, but the value's kind of gone up on him now. It's juiced to like minus 150, but I like him in that spot. Nerfies I like today. Yankees Cubs with this wind blowing in, we see it reflected in the odds at minus 150. Tampa Bay and Baltimore at minus 120. The the Blue Jays and the Braves at minus 130, and the Mariners and the Cardinals at minus 150. So those are my bets today. Football video coming out later today. I shit the bed, didn't put one out yesterday. Sorry, just got really busy. So I will put something out. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It's free. Give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below anything you like. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.